everybody for joining us on the Quantum Alignment Show. I am Sandra Lee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alana Heim.
And today we are talking about the dynamics of the throat center. And I'm going to start talking about human design first, and then I will bring Biofield tuning in a little while. I'm a practitioner of both human design as a specialist and Biofield tuning as a practitioner. And when I started combining them, it was incredibly powerful and impactful. So let's talk about the dynamics of the throat center, Alana. You and I are really familiar with this, and we work with people with it all of the time. So how I think about the throat is it's the area where we want to be seen and heard, and everybody wants that. We want to be recognized, we want to be appreciated, we want to be seen for who we really are. So many people in the world feel like they do not have or they do not experience any or all of those things. And so working with the dynamics of the throat center is really important in human design. In human design, there's this whole dynamic of something we call the motorized throat. And there are these centers in the human design chart that are what we call motors that just drive activity, that give energy to be able to do things. And everyone wishes they had that energy that connects to their ability to express themselves and be seen in the world. But unfortunately, a lot of people in human design don't have motorized throats, which contributes to a lot of different struggles that people have. People have the experience of it's hard being heard, or nobody hears them or understands them, a lot of misunderstandings. And a lot of people just struggle with that. Why don't you share a little bit about that, Alana?
Right, because we're kind of the polarity for everyone to experience. So I'm a projector with an undefined throat. Without the definition, there's no motor here. And for me, I've really had to learn how to sit back and observe and wait and listen. And I am that good listener, and we all are in our own way. However, if I were to just jump in or start communications or conversations like at a grocery store, and I've had this experience, and maybe you have too, where people will literally look at you a little funny if you don't have the motorized throat. And this is probably different than what you experienced, Sandra, where you can talk to anyone and they'll agree with you, they'll look at you and feel like, yeah, you're right. I don't get that. So I've learned that it's okay to ask permission, ask a question. I love leading with a yes, no question because we know that 70% of the population is a generator type. So to ask a question, do you know anything about this? Or what do you think, is there something that you can tell me or share? And it just kind of opens up the conversation. And that way the other person gets the recognition that they want, because deep down, just like you're saying, we all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to contribute in some impactful way in the world.
Why don't you talk now about the invitation piece? Because you're almost talking about that. And that's a really significant thing when it comes to the throat.
And a lot of times we discuss invitations and think that it's a projector thing, but it's always nice to be invited for anything. Even for me to maybe invite you, Sandra, as a manifester and bring you into the fold, and then you get to initiate in your own way. To realize that invitations are just simply ways for us to engage with each other, to connect, to be able to ask permission, get the recognition, instead of feeling like we have to just roll people over and tell them how it is, rather than ask them how they think or feel or sense or perceive, especially with so many of the changes going on in the world right now. We all want to have some kind of platform or space where we can get together, have discussion, feel connected, be invited in a way. So whether or not you're a projector, whether or not you have a defined or undefined throat, it's almost that common courtesy to just kind of have that warm, inviting aspect that can bring people into the fold, because we don't know where people are in their lives, and synchronicity is key. So even when you get that familiarity, that that peace when you're out in the world and there's someone you want to talk to. And I know where sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, well, do I say something? I'm a projector and I have an undefined throat. But that engagement, there's something there that they have that I need and that they have that I need and vice versa. It's we need each other, and to be able to just recognize that there's ways to work with the energy to support each other. So we all feel welcome, feel loved and supported.
Thank you for sharing a little bit about the undefined and unmotorized throat experience. So I'm a manifester, and what makes someone a manifester in human design is having a motorized throat, but not having the sacral center defined. Sacral center, Alana was talking about how 70% of the population are generators and are designed to respond to yes or no questions. I'm a manifester, and so I don't have that sacral center defined, but I do have the motorized throat, which, as Alana was saying, does make it easier for me to feel like I get heard. But there's a whole range of challenges that can come with that. And so I want to share a little bit about that with you now. So in the human design chart, there's the throat center, and this is the throat center that we've been talking about. And my throat center connects to my identity center, or the G center is what it's called in human design. And it's also connected to the will center, the center of worth and value. So for me, one of the issues for me associated with the throat center is that I take things personally. So if I say something or I do something, both of which are expressions of the throat center, speaking and doing, when I receive a response back from people to what I'm doing or saying, I take it personally, whether it's positive or negative. So I get stopped a lot of times because I'm concerned about doing things wrong or people not liking it. And so it's a struggle for me having the motorized throat. People think that, oh, it must be easy for manifestors to express themselves because they can initiate. Manifestors are the only one of the 5 human design types that are able to initiate, start the conversation without responding to something else. But it's not all super easy. I wish I could say it were, but it's not. I have my challenges with this motorized throat.
So Sandra, we had someone ask, how do I know if I have a motorized throat? So let's share with them the configuration. So ultimately, there are those 4 motorized centers. If you're a generator type, you're going to have a sacral defined. So what Sandra was just explaining is she doesn't have that definition. So you either have your sacral, the will center, the solar plexus, or the root, all connected directly in some form. It doesn't have to be a straight shot to the throat. It can weave through other centers. But as long as you have those centers defined and connecting to the throat, you do have a motorized throat. And so with the motorized throat, you're either a manifester or a manifesting generator. So even if you're a generator with a defined throat, if you're a projector with a defined throat, it's not motorized, which means it's not sustainable, consistent energy that you can continually use to be able to connect in the way like Sandra was discussing how she's able to just initiate the conversation with people. And I see a lot, I have a lot of clients, manifestors and manifesting generators that can speak to what you're saying, Sandra, where even though you are defined, you are motorized, there's such a power within. And at some point, they're shut down as kids or told that I have clients that say they're like fire hoses, that they're too big, they're too much. And so they tame it and they really just bring themselves down. And then they stop initiating conversation and sharing their gifts and their abilities to initiate, which is so powerful. And that's what we need. And the more that you can share, especially whatever your design is, and finding the way that works for you, that really you feel the energy and it feels, I don't know, just you feel the love as you're speaking, sharing, and people are leaning in because they want to listen. That's what we all want. And especially as children.
Yeah.
We all want to be heard.
Yeah. I realize that there are people on who might not know what the centers are. So the sacral center on the human design chart is not the bottom square, but it's the square just above that. And if it's defined, it's going to be red on your chart. If you have a red square in your chart, that makes you a generator or a manifesting generator. The square below that will be brown if it's defined, as the root center. And then the emotional solar plexus is the triangle that's to the far right. And if it's defined, it's going to be brown. And then the will center is the little triangle in the middle of the chart next to the identity center. So if the will center is defined, it's going to be red. So as Ilana was saying, if any of those shapes, motors, are directly connected by colored lines to the square near the top, it's going to be brown if it's defined, the throat center. If any of those directly connect by colored lines to the throat, that's called a motorized throat.
Anne says that she doesn't feel heard at all, in fact, silenced. And how many of us have felt this at some point in our life? I know I actually have felt that a lot. And I have to be honest, some of the mask squaring and the mandate that's coming through in my state, it's triggering me because there's this element of being heard, being able to share and speak, like I finally am figuring out how to do, and that we're all learning how to do. And to throw something over my mouth is just like, I don't know, it's something I've already felt most of my life, and maybe you can relate, and I just have a hard time. So I totally can relate. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you whatever your experiences were as children, even as adults, even in your work environment, there are places where maybe there's something that we've allowed, and now we're realizing it's not okay. We're here to be heard. There's so much wisdom and energy flow. So remember that this throat, this gearbox, it is part of manifesting. So for our prosperity, we want this flow. We want to be able to bring the energy. And I see so many charts, and I'm one that has the same chart where my emotional energy, all of this feeling I have to express, doesn't make it to the throat. And so sometimes you'll see it in my expressions, and I have the nonverbal communication, and that's almost my way to get it out, because if I don't have that ability naturally by myself, I need you. I need source. I need energies to come through and help me to express it. And some of us just, it stays stuck, and we need that flow, and we want that movement, and it wants to come out. We want to be heard, to share our wisdom, the brilliance, the gifts, all of it.
So if you have someone in your life who has a non-motorized throat, being aware of that. And like Alana was saying, having someone else in her life come and asks her how she feels, or if she has something she wants to say, whoever that person is can really support them in being able to be seen and heard. So Meg says, I have a motorized throat, manifesting generator. Biggest issue, oh yeah, so it's like being misunderstood. Absolutely, I totally understand that. So my experiences as a manifester with this motorized throat, that I get misinterpreted all of the time. All of the time. People get offended, people get upset, they just don't understand. And that's one of the things that I get to deal with. If you, Meg, also have the root center defined, the root center is the square at the bottom, that puts pressure on other people who have undefined root centers. And I am really aware, as someone who has the motorized throat and the defined root center, that sometimes I may be putting pressure on people, and that they may misunderstand what I say. So even when I'm writing an email, for example, being aware that, oh, this person might misinterpret what I'm going to say, so I verbally withdraw the pressure. It's like, just so you know, I'm not putting pressure on you, right? Just giving you some information so that there's less likelihood of having that misunderstanding get in the way. But absolutely not being understood or being misinterpreted or misunderstood, it can be a block. So it's like, if I have the experience that everybody always mistakes what I'm saying, does that make it more likely that I'm going to withhold myself? Absolutely, it does.
Yeah. And sometimes it depends too on what are the channels that are connecting your energy to the throat and whether it's motorized or not. And sometimes we connect with others. I have a lot of hanging gates off the throat, but also off other centers that can connect to the throat. I think I have like 7 opportunities to be able to connect the energy. So some of the energies might be coming from the circuitry that's highly individual. And if you are individual and you have this knowingness, it comes through source and it comes through sound. And sometimes when you hear it, you still have to translate it into the language that others are going to be able to receive. And there's a timing to it. So if the timing isn't right to be able to share the message, people aren't going to hear it correctly. They're not going to be able to interpret it, or maybe you've misinterpreted your own kind of translation, if you will, and the timing wasn't right to be able to articulate it. So sometimes, even if you're the manifester, if you're the manifesting generator, knowing your own timing for being able to deliver the message because it feels correct for you, you are following your strategy and your authority, and then you're honoring that. If it's tribal, there's just that quality of wanting to connect and belong and wanting to almost please people and tell them what they want to hear. And it's that dance of making sure you're still expressing who you are while meeting potentially the needs of your audience. And then the collective, we want to make this impact, we want to do for the greater good. And so sometimes maybe we're a little too big picture, kind of out there for the collective without thinking about the individual and the tribal. And so all of these kind of mesh together depending on who you're speaking to. They're either going to receive it or they're just not going to hear it because it's not their timing and they're not ready for the message. And that's okay too. So just trusting yourself, trusting that whatever message is meant to come through, honoring that. And if you feel nervous because it's new and we have big things to share, it's okay. Get that permission, get the recognition, ask someone if you can share, and then go for it and see what happens, right? It's just all part of this journey of playing with the energy, having fun, sharing where you can, and you'll start to notice who your audience or your right people are. And even if it's within family, you probably on this deeper intuitive level already know your family and know how to connect to them in a certain way that's going to be more, let's say, empowering and impactful.
Thanks, Alana. I want to address a couple of the questions. So one is, yes, as a manifestor, it's important for me to inform, and thinking ahead to how someone might or might not misunderstand, I'm informing and addressing that before the misinterpretation happens. Now I want to talk about hanging gates and how important hanging gates are in who people attract when they have an unmotorized throat. So it's like Alana has her definition down low in her chart and then definition up in her chart. And she attracts people to her through the hanging gates that help her energy connect to the throat. So in your chart, you have colored lines, and in places where you have 2 short colored lines joined together, that defines a channel. And that creates definition or colored in the shapes on either side of the channel. If you only have one of the 2 colored ends inside that line, one of them is colored, those are called gates. And if you only have one, it's called a hanging gate. So you have both defined, that creates a channel. If you have one gate, it's hanging. And it's calling out to people who have the other side. Hey, I need you. Come fill this in for me. Because when someone with definition that you do not have is with you, they give you that energy. And your chart is able to more fully express when those other people's energies come into you. So if Alana has definition with a hanging gate, that if someone comes in and fills that energy in, her energy can get to the throat. And it makes it easier for Alana to have the experience that she gets heard and seen. So you may have people in your life, if you have an undefined, unmotorized throat, you may have people in your life around whom you feel like you have more ability than usual to be heard. You are electromagnetically attracted to those people. That's what we call it in human design, electromagnetics. You draw people to you who help your energy get to the throat. And so you may be more comfortable with those people. You may feel like you need those people. And for example, if you have an unmotorized throat and you are looking for people to bring into your company, for example, or you are looking for somebody to be in an intimate partnership with, or to be a friend, if you know their human design, you can recognize, oh, this person helps my energy get to the throat. This might be a good person for me to have in my life. You have any more to say about that, Alana?
For example, I have the gate 16 that is coming right off the throat. It's actually headed towards the spleen. It's a logical collective energy. My husband has the gate 48. So not only does he bridge my split in other ways to be able to get the emotional energy to the throat, we also kind of create other energies between us. And so the fun part is, and I love to teach this aspect where even if you have an undefined center, a gate, or channel, that just means you get to go play and explore with all of the energies that are around you. And you don't always have to pull it from others. You can receive it through source, through other planets, and you also can tap into the experiences you had previously. So I know what it feels like to have the 4816 channel, because when I'm with my husband, we can create it. I have enough clients and people I attract who have that gate 48. So what I get to play with is, what does it feel like to be in that energy and be able to tap into it if I absolutely need to. It's not sustainable, but that's the gift of just knowing what energies feel like. And this is part of the conditioning. What I see is really the blessing of conditioning in ways, because if you've been conditioned to react and think that you have this energy, but you now know how to tap into it when you need to, right? I'll be able to tap into that mastery that can come through the channel to be able to express with the enthusiasm that I usually have, while having the depth to be able to teach and express and give clients or these kinds of shows or different aspects to allow it to come through, because I'm trusting that source and that wisdom and that depth from the 48 can come through.
Yep. Any way that you share in a channel with another person, it's like the energy of that channel can be a theme in your relationship. So if one person brings in one energy and the other person brings in the other, your relationship may have part of its theme be around that energy. If one person has the whole channel, both gates, and another person comes in with part of it, one half, then it could be a theme in your relationship. It could be something that you do together. Or if you both share the whole channel, that's just something that you share together.
Yeah, as a companion. And so Anna said how to tap into it. So do you think about it? And it's kind of one of those places where you're going to have to feel whatever your divine intuition, knowing yourself. For some, that divine sense might come through hearing kind of some of the energy. Maybe you see it, or you can tap into some of the color, the feeling that you got, the empowerment. I also get I have a lot of the electromagnetics with my husband in other throat aspects too. Like I have the one coming from the identity. He has the 8. So we have that together. He has the whole 731 channel, which is another identity, logical leadership channel to the throat. I have the 33 from the throat. He has the 13. So this dynamics that you can see that this relationship clearly is helping me to find my voice. And he's a defined throat projector. It's not motorized. And so it's still that dance of being heard with each other and learning how to be heard out in the world. So whatever you can tap into. And I'm kind of thinking, I had this thought that maybe we could just kind of even tap into feeling the throat energy. Would you be okay if we just did like a quick thing where people can we can just tap into the energy of the throat, Sandra?
We'll do that when we do the biofield tuning.
Okay.
There's one more significant topic I want to bring up that somebody also just mentioned. And let's talk about the head end. So there's some people who have a defined head in ajna. The triangle at the top is yellow and the triangle below it is green. You know a lot of stuff. A lot of data is up there. And sometimes that head and ajna is defined with all of that knowledge and information and understanding, but it doesn't get to the throat. And if it does get to the throat, it's still not motorized. So for me, I have a defined head and ajna that's not connected to my throat, but I still have a motorized throat. So I have some ability to take the information, the knowledge that I have, and make it heard because of the motorized throat. But there are a lot of people, there are some projectors who the only definition they have is up here in their head and ajna, and it doesn't get to anything. And so they have all this information that they want to share, all this knowledge, maybe some advice or some wisdom that they want to share, and they just feel like that they never get it heard. And that can be really like frustrating and disappointing for them. So understanding that there's that. But then there's also people who have either the head and ajna that is connected to the throat, or just the ajna, the knowledge and understanding that's connected to the throat, without the motor. So again, there's this pressure to take what you know and share it with people. And if it's connected to the throat, it can sometimes come out like just automatically, not stopping. And other people can be blown away by you sharing all this information. So understanding there's this pressure to share, and if it's not motorized, that it can cause some challenges. So what do? You have information you want to share, or you have feedback you want to share, or advice you want to share. The truth is, in our world, nobody wants unsolicited advice. If somebody tells me what to do, I'm going to resist. Don't tell me what to do. So if you have something you want to share, what I do is recommend dangling it in front of them. Hey, I have something you might want to know. You want to hear it? You want to hear it? That's valuable for anyone to do, no matter what the type is. So if I say, do you want to hear this information that might be useful to you? And the other person says yes, that's an invitation, like we were talking about earlier. For projectors, invitations are critical. But really, all types benefit from receiving an invitation to share information. If I just take what's in my head and I dump it on somebody without asking them if they want it, they might not listen to me, or it makes it more likely that they're going to misunderstand. They might get offended. So if I precede it with, this is something you might want to know, do you want to hear it? And I get from them an invitation, they are much more open and ready to receive it from me.
Yes. And so remember, where do the motors reside? In the body, in the physical, in where we take action. Above the throat, there's no action. There is no ability to really move into action. And so when we just want to come from this place, we're more at the spirit kind of level. And this throat chakra is more at the causal body. And, it's this higher part above the heart chakra. So the action is below. This is in the lower chakras where we can actually move forth. So when you're inviting somebody else into your world, you're getting grounded in the energy of their response. So there's a big impact in being able to ask somebody, do you want to hear this, instead of just letting it come forth, because there's nothing that can move forward. You're kind of pulling the energy down rather than allowing it to come back around through their response and you getting to take action and now put forth what you want to present. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. Now let's talk about biofield tuning and actually experience the throat energy with the biofield tuning. So biofield tuning uses sound with the tuning fork to help activate the energy in the field. So you've all heard of the aura. The aura is the energy field that's around your body, and it energizes and supports your body. So you have this energy field and your body is in the middle of it. And then there's this central channel that connects you to the earth and connects you to the sun and supports the energy flowing through your energy field and through your body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tuning forks to help first bring awareness and energy to the throat and help you feel what your throat feels like, the throat center feels like. And then I'm going to connect it to the earth and to the sun. And then if I have time, I'm hoping I have time, I will also then focus some on the connection between the heart center, the fourth chakra, and the throat center, the fifth chakra. In doing biofield tuning, it is this connection between the throat and the heart that I wind up working with a tremendous amount. Because again, everyone wants to be able to take who they are, which I think resides in the heart center, and have it be expressed and seen through what we do, what we say, and how we express ourselves out in the world. And so working with this block between the heart center and the throat. Now, in human design, the heart chakra is split into two. It's split into the G, or the identity center, and the will center, or the ego center. So those are both parts of this collective heart chakra. So in working with the biofield tuning, with the connection between these centers, we help you be able to express who you are, who your heart is through your throat, and contribute the value that you want to contribute to the world, the will center, the worth and value that you want to contribute. Okay, so start off now, just centering yourself and feel what your heart, your throat energy feels like without the sound first. Does it feel open? Does it feel closed? Does it feel blocked? Does it feel like there's things you want to say with your throat that get stuck? Are you swallowing down the words that you want to say? Just feeling the dynamics of your throat. Now I'm going to use the tuning fork and make a sound, and just feel this sound coming into your throat center and waking your throat center up. And breathe. Allow the sound to nourish the energy of your throat. And breathing. Now, without the added sound, notice if the dynamics and the energy of your throat feel like it's changed a little bit. Does it feel more full? Does it feel more open? It's also possible that with that addition of a little bit of energy and awareness, it could be that you're more conscious of it being closed and blocked. So just notice how your throat feels. And allowing the energy of your throat to expand. Now I'm aware of how this throat energy that we've just woken up is not connected to the ground. It's not connected to the motor. It's isolated here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the Earth Star Center, the center below your feet that connects you to the earth. We're going to energize it. And then I'm going to bring the energy up. Yes, someone feels bottled up in their throat, right? So it's like we're going to connect you to the earth. Okay, so I'm locating the Earth Star, the point below your feet, and then I'm going to draw it down a little bit so it connects with the earth a little bit better. Allowing your Earth Star, the point below your feet, to be down a little bit farther. There we go. Stabilize it in that place, that new lower place. Now you're going to draw earth energy up from the Earth Star into your body and up to your throat. It's not quite up to the throat yet. It's kind of stuck in the belly, first, second, third chakras, allowing that earth energy to come up to the throat. So what's coming up is that sometimes it doesn't feel safe for me to express myself. And so the anxiety may come into my first and second chakras. I may have anxiety in my solar plexus where there's fear and upset and danger. So just understanding all these things and allowing, if there's any trauma in that history of you're trying to express yourself, allowing that trauma or any reservations or blocks or fears, imagine that all just drops down through this central channel we've been working on and let it go down into the earth, allowing those blocks and traumas to go down. There we go. And it comes up to the heart. And again, there's some concern. Is it okay? Is it safe for me to express the truth of who I am? Is it safe for me to express my feelings, to show the vulnerability of my heart? Allowing yourself to feel safe, knowing that if it ever really is dangerous, you can always pull back. So allowing your field, your energy field, to be open and allowing your heart to feel nourished and supported, and possibly allow the energy from your heart to be able to go up to your throat. There we go. So as the energy starts to go from the heart center to the throat, this very important connection for my ability to be myself in the world. So allowing the earth energy to support that flow and that connection. There we go. So now there's that connection between the heart and the throat. So before I make the connection to the head and to the sun above, I want you to notice what it feels like. Feeling this connection from the earth to the throat, which certainly allows the heart to throat connection to be stronger, but it still feels blocked because the energy is not flowing throughout the head and connecting you to the sun. Yes, absolutely. So the throat is starting to pulse, right? It's like, oh, there's all this energy built up here, but where does it go? Okay, so now we're going to take the energy that we've been bringing up to the throat, and we are going to allow it to go through the head and out the top of the head to the sun. Gets a little bit stuck at the base of the skull, the top of the neck. And allowing it to go out the top of the head. Now I'm going to connect the earth star, this point below your feet, connecting it to the earth and bringing earth energy all the way up from the earth, all the way out to the top of the head, connecting you to the sun. There we go. That was easy. So again, pause and notice what that feels like. And I know when this happens to me, it feels like someone's been pulling on my tail. So until we bring the head, the sun in, it's like I don't get the full connection going through. So it's allowing the earth energy to come up and all the way out the top of the head. And now I'm going to connect to the sun star, the point above the head that connects you to the sun. And I'm going to draw it from above the head up a little bit. So I can already tell before I start doing it that some people are uncomfortable really being seen in the world. They feel uncomfortable really expressing themselves in the world. And so when that happens, I can pull my energy down, pull the energy down on the top of my head. I can't be big, I can't be seen, I can't be noticed. Those are all throat center dynamics. So what would it be like to be safe enough to allow yourself to actually take up your full amount of space and allow your energy field to expand, allowing you to be upright, allowing you to be tall, and allowing you to be heard. So I'm going to find the sun star, the point above the head, and I'm going to draw it up a little bit. Again, what would it be like to be safe enough to allow yourself to be seen? So what comes up is in childhood, there were some of us that when we were seen, we got punished. We got criticized, we got judged. Oh, yeah, we got judged and harmed and punished. So you're an adult now, and those people do not have control over you. If you allow your energy field to expand, anytime it really is dangerous, you can always pull your energy in and protect yourself if necessary. So what would it be like to be safe enough now to allow your energy field to expand and be tall and upright and allowing yourself to be seen? There we go. And to stabilize it in that place, and it feels like there are a lot of us who really want to be seen more in the world. I want to do more. I want to make a bigger difference. And so allowing my energy field to be more expanded helps me have a bigger impact. So being comfortable with that. Like some people think, oh, I can't make that difference. I can't do that. I can't have that impact. So allowing for the possibility that maybe you can. Not that you necessarily have to, but if you want to, you can choose to have a bigger impact. So now we're taking the energy from the sun star to the top of the head, and then into the head and through the body. It comes to the third eye, and so just helping the third eye be able to be more clear, allowing my perception, my intuition, the inspirations that are going to come in, allowing that third eye to be more open for the wisdom that you want to share, and allowing the energy to come from the third eye to the throat and energizing and supporting the throat. So allowing the inspirations, the ideas, the wisdom that you are receiving to be able to come to the throat so that it can be expressed. Sun energy coming through and going through the throat into the rest of the body. And allowing the sun energy to go all the way through the body, connecting you to the earth. Now I'm connecting the sun to the sun star and bringing the energy from the sun all the way through. That feels really nice. So again, nourishing this connection between the throat center and the heart. This area in the Biofield tuning sessions I see so often being blocked and stuck. So working with the sun energy and the earth energy together to just nourish and support your expression and your ability to have your true self be seen and heard and recognized. There we go. So I'm going to take a different fork, a weighted fork, and I'm just going to help all of our energies come back together, meaning your energy come back together because it's been really expanded here for a little bit. So allowing all of these energies we've worked with for you to come back into your center. So I'm going to do something we call figure eights. So I'm going to do a circle from your solar plexus down below your feet and up around your head, and then back to the solar plexus again. I'm going to connect your will to divine will. Lovely. And then I'm going to do something called the rainbow blanket. And imagine I'm doing this with a different fork than the one I'm doing, but this is the one I've got. There we go. Breathe. And take your time coming back. I learned Biofield tuning from the organization of Biofield Tuning, and there's just practitioner classes that you can take. People can take the classes even if they aren't interested in being a practitioner, so you can do it for your own personal learning, for working with your family. And it's relatively easy to become a practitioner. Alana always loves the sessions.
I do. I've been yawning, moving lots of energy. And this time I experimented with doing it as more of an active meditation and really keeping my eyes open and focused and breathing with it. So thank you.
Yeah. So Alana has done individual sessions with me and group sessions. And those are all available for people. What I am opening up is the availability of some group sessions to you to participate. And Alana has been in these group sessions with me, and they're amazing. They're really amazing. You want to share a little bit about your experience of the group sessions?
Yes, absolutely. There's so much more we can do together, and we're realizing that. Even as we're talking, I don't think I'm spotlighted. Maybe you could add me back in, Cindy. So together we're so much more than we are individually, right? Like we can heal so much more. We can bring each other into pieces of our own healing that we didn't realize that we. So if, let's say, I had a specific request, Sandra incorporates that, and then the other people in the group, they've had their requests, and then we all get to feel whatever needs to be cleared, whatever is in our field, not just for us individually and tribally and collectively in this space, but ancestrally for our children that may not be born yet, or our future ancestors, but our past ancestors. We just get to work on all of it. And there's a lot of deep cleansing that happens. And I've really seen a lot in my clients that have done this work, in myself. There's so much depth. So I thank you. I really appreciate it. And ultimately, when you can just show up, and even if you can't physically be present, you can still gain the benefit because you're in the hologram, you're in what she's working on. So even if I've missed a session and then I can come back and rewatch it as well, that's beneficial because then I can be more present to it. But even when I'm not there, I can feel the benefit.
Yes. So I am going to put a link to the Creating the Future group session series. That's the series that is available for people to participate right now. And I'll also post in the Facebook page later. So that's the page for the group tuning sessions. And so like Alana was saying, each individual person gets to put their personal issues and intentions, send me a list, and I incorporate it into what we do in the sessions. Other biofield tuning practitioners do group sessions. I think I'm the only one who's doing sessions like this, and it has been astonishing what we work on. So that's one thing for you. There's another. I am making available to people global healing sessions. These are just individual sessions where in a group context, we each individually contribute our healing intentions for the world. And just like I did while I was doing this mini session today, I speak the intentions that come up. For these global healing sessions, I want to enable the participants to contribute their intentions for healing the world. I think there are a lot of people that wish they could do something to make a difference with the chaos that's going on right now, and they don't feel able to do that. So these global sessions are for doing that, and I'm going to give you a link for that to help you be able to feel like you can contribute. So that's that link. And then one more. I have free gifts for you. I have made a recording that enables me to get past my resistance. So I have things that I'm supposed to work on, projects that I have to work on. And I resist. I don't like writing or whatever. You know, I'm stuck. I don't feel like I know how to do this. When I listen to this 2 minutes and 22 seconds of tuning, I am like right on. It is amazing the difference that it makes. So that is a free gift that I am giving you if you complete a little form on my website. So there is the link for the success with my projects. So anybody have questions? Because we have time for some questions.
I love this work. I just want to say thank you again, because the whole of the grid is shifting, and each and every single one of us are part of it. And this level of work, bringing in sound is part of the vibration of healing, and then being able to weave in your intentions into that void to be able to manifest from this space, to come from source, because all of it is so powerful. We all each have a piece of it. So my intention is going to only cover a certain aspect, and we need your pieces so that we are really bringing that into the new grid, coming from source, bringing it back out, and just really shifting to embrace motherly, nurturing love around Mother Earth as she's ascending, we're ascending, all of it. So thank you.
Somebody wants to know about the tuning forks. So all of these tuning forks come from the Biofield Tuning Organization. And when Eileen McCusick, the creator of Biofield Tuning, started developing this work, she found that she kept what she called breaking the forks. Other tuning forks that are available, because there's, you know, numerous systems for using tuning forks, were not working in the same way. So Biofield Tuning really works with the distortion in the sound as opposed to just the sound itself. The distortion of the sound as I move the fork through the field, that's what does the work. And so we're actively working with the distortion in the sound. So she created a special alloy in working with the manufacturer of the tuning forks to come up with forks that were stronger, I'm going to say, more tolerant of that distortion, so that the equipment doesn't continually break. So she was finding that the sound of the tuning fork, this one fork here, which I'll describe in a minute, would go sour or harsh, and it would lose its ability to have the pure sound. So the fork that I've been using here is 174 hertz, and these are frequencies that are, some of the forks are weighted forks that don't make as much sound, and they are solfeggio frequencies, which are the solfeggio frequency is the frequency of the earth, the vibration of the earth. So some of our forks are earth frequency, and then some of them are Fibonacci frequencies, so relating to sacred geometry and proportionality and perfection of form. So the 174 is one of the Fibonacci's, so that's this one. We have one that's 417 hertz, another one that's 528 hertz, and then some new weighted forks. This is the 144, so again, Fibonacci, and then there's an 89. So those are most of the forks that I use. There's also two weighted Schumann forks Schumann resonance, the ones for the earth frequency. The crystal bowls are different. They work by healing with the frequency of the sound itself, not so much with the moving through the energy field and working with the distortion. They can be healing in a different way, and people do like sound baths and things like that, or using the crystal bowls in individual sessions. My experience is that the fork, working with the tuning forks, is a little more active. I am actively interacting with the energy field. And, you know, you heard me mention some of the trauma and the blocks that came up as I was working. So that comes up as I'm doing the biofield tuning, moving through the field.
I did have a question on Facebook. There were a couple of questions, but what will be the best way to start learning more about my own human design, fairly new to it, in search of how to stay on course. I mean, do you have recommendations for that also?
Both Alana and I offer human design readings for chart interpretation. You can also, there's a lot of books out there. My experience with doing your own research with books and the internet, here's a story. One of the people that I did a reading for had read 3 full books before her human design reading, including Karen's Understanding Human Design. And she had done a ton of research on the internet. She came with a huge binder and she had a massive amount of knowledge, but it was all random information. She didn't know what, she didn't know how to put it together. And so what the reading did was it helped her take all of this information and package it together into information that was coherent and a complete package about her chart and her grandson's chart, the one that she was interested in. So you're certainly welcome to do all that. Karen also offers a lot of classes where people can come and learn from her.
Yeah. And I love to integrate. So for me, as the projector, the guidance, doing private clients where we're doing more of the coaching or consulting beyond the reading and even in group format. I love that because what I find is, and I'm an experimenter, I'm a 1-3. So for me, I know that the experimentation is part of how you can just exponentially understand the information. And sometimes when we're reading books, and believe me, I love to learn and find and as much as I can to investigate, but it is part of whatever process works for you and how you can integrate and truly understand how you weave in your strategy, your authority, sitting with the centers, knowing how to be able to bring in the energy and borrow the energy or know consistently who you are. Sometimes beyond the reading, having kind of that integration so that it weaves into your relationships, it weaves into your prosperity, your money, or even into your relationships at work, or the work in general. There's just so many components of having this alignment and being you out in the world. That's what we need. And the Biofield tuning and pairing it, because even within the group aspects that Sandra does, she can weave in the chart. She can weave in and know who you are and kind of bring in some of these pain points, or knowing if we're going to specifically focus on, say, the throat chakra, and knowing that there might be blocks in here or certain things even from your past lives, or who knows where the energy is just kind of stuck. It can completely clear. And this allows your energy, understanding your chart, all of it to come together so that you are truly you. You're in that alignment and that beingness.
So when somebody has an issue going on, when we set an intention, that's what we're working on in a session, it will completely change the energy of the session. So it's like if an issue is something that we're bringing up, when I'm connecting with Earth Star, it may feel different. It may be more pulled up because you don't feel so safe when it comes to that area. So the intention that the person brings to, well, human design as well. So it's like you get different information and different work gets done depending on what the focus and the intention are. Thank you all for coming, for joining us for the Quantum Alignment Show. This is so fun.
Yes. So I wore the color blue, right? If you want to tap into any color or the color blue for this chakra, if you want to, just kind of play with the energy, starting to just feel the energy, feel what's coming from this chakra and right, that you can start to have that connection to the energy and to get clearings if you're feeling some blocks. Sandra is great at bringing in this Biofield tuning and especially just looking at the dynamics of your own chart and being able to integrate and see, because I know there was one question Tanya had brought up, just saying she's a projector with a defined throat and not always recognized and waiting and trying to get input from her family and her kids about nutrition and wanting, to kind of help them. But sometimes it is forceful. So I would say just get curious, ask your family in the appropriate questioning, yes, no, or open-ended, depending on their types. What is it they need? What is it that they like, or they're having a hard time with, or if they're resisting, do they have an idea of how you guys can work together? Because sometimes we see it so clearly for how we want it for someone else. but they've got their own journey and they've got to figure it out their own way. And maybe they've got that piece of information to share with you so you can help them on their way.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.